Due to mandatory lockdowns throughout the United States, a lot of businesses are struggling. Some of them have failed completely. And it's not really a surprise when you think about it. And these businesses that were forced to close their doors basically have no income, and yet they're forced to continue paying rent and mortgage in the very least, in addition to, in some cases, some utilities and so on. This has happened for months now. They've been forced to keep their doors closed to customers to have no income, and yet they still have expenses. So businesses have completely closed, for good. Well, there was recently a report issued by the New York Federal Reserve, which said that nearly 50% of black-owned businesses have died completely. Well, Forbes magazine reported on this and blamed institutional racism. Yes, in fact, I'm just going to quote, they said, quote, "It's institutional racism, obviously," unquote. Yeah, it's just obvious. What else could it possibly be? Well, the same source that they were using as the basis for their article, the New York Federal Reserve, said something completely different. But Forbes was looking for some reason to blame, well, white people, right? Because that's what you're saying when you blame institutionalized racism, you're saying, oh, white people have this whole system in place to, in some way, discriminate against non-whites. That's what you're saying. Well, the New York Federal Reserve actually said this, and I quote, "Volumes of COVID-19 cases coincide with black-owned business locations. 2/3 of counties with high levels of black business activity pre-COVID-19 are in the top 50 COVID-affected areas," unquote. In other words, a disproportionate number of black-owned businesses are in densely populated urban areas. These are otherwise known as Democrat zones. These are the zones that impose the most draconian and unnecessary lockdowns, in part because they wanted to try and destroy the so-called Trump economy, right? But the Trump economy, what is that? It is, in part, black-owned businesses. It's one of the talking points of President Trump was how he had helped with black unemployment rates and with black businesses stuff. This was actually some of the things that he mentioned in his State of the Union addresses of the past. But the Democrats in these areas threw these people under the bus. They didn't care about who they were hurting. And, in their attempts to destroy the Trump economy, they largely succeeded. And as they did so, they brought tangible harm to their own communities. They don't care. Because these are the same sort of people who then, after destroying the Trump economy, for yay politics or something, who then pen articles about institutional racism and how it's the root of all of our problems. And also, the same people who claimed that the shutdowns wouldn't have long-term ramifications, and who smeared those of us who mentioned that the economy actually has impacts on real people, on real businesses, that some of these businesses won't be able to reopen. They claimed that people like me were in some way immoral for caring about small business owners, for example. And now, those same people write articles about how institutionalized racism is leading to black businesses closing. No, policies that keep black businesses closed, and they keep all businesses closed, I might add, are the reason that the black businesses are failing, are the reason that businesses throughout the United States are failing. And again, for anybody who missed it, the reason that these black-owned businesses are disproportionately affected is simply because they're in the Democrat zones. That's the reason. But Democrats are bad at economics, right? I mean, they think that the economy is held up by magic. They're communists who think that forced sharing will fix everything. And by forced sharing, we've kind of seen that in the form of, well, handouts. Massive amounts of unemployment money, or just stimulus checks, printed from nothing, backed by nothing, and we just kind of hope that everything will work out in the end. But increasingly, for people and for businesses, things aren't going to work out. The economy matters, and people matter, but the Democrats are too busy playing games with people's lives. Wait, if you enjoyed that video, please remember to like and share. I can't grow without you. Also, if you want to be reliably notified of new videos, don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter. If you're able to support the production of these videos, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe at Subscribestar, or maybe get one of the healthier products, or even get some merch.